So good to have you join us today. I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. Coming up on today's edition of Business Daily. Companies in the auto and fashion industries are targeting the online to offline or the O2O service sector, with Korea's smartphone penetration rate standing at over 80%. Just last week, Samsung Electronics put an end to its Note 7 smartphone production after reports that even replacement handsets were catching fire. So what went wrong and what can be done to regain consumer confidence? But first, the 4-month-long investigation into Korea's fifth largest conglomerate Lotte Group has come to a close, with prosecutors indicting but not detaining the group's chairman Shin Dong-bin, as well as his elder brother Dong-ju and their father and the group's founder Shin Gyuk-ho. They are charged with tax evasion, embezzlement, and breach of trust and will now face a trial. The founder's common-law wife, Seo Mi-kyung, as well as his daughter Shin Young-ja, were also earlier indicted on charges of tax evasion. Prosecutors launched a probe into the group back in June, raiding some 10 business units and summoning about 500 of Lotte's executives and staff, either as suspects or witnesses. While prosecutors made progress in finding cases of tax evasion, they failed to uncover details in regards to the group's alleged slush funds. Korea's unionized cargo truck drivers have decided to end their general strike on this Wednesday after walking off the job 10 days ago. The government welcomed the announcement, saying it will push for institutional improvements that better ensure the safety of truck drivers. They include controlling overloaded vehicles and providing better protection for truckers who use their own cars for business. Meanwhile, the nation's railway workers have entered the 23rd day of their strike, the longest to date. This is further raising safety concerns as relatively inexperienced short-term contract workers are left to fill in. Korea's producer prices rose for the second straight month in September on the back of surging prices of agricultural goods. The Bank of Korea says its preliminary producer price index rose 0.2% on month to 99.2 last month. The price index has a baseline of 100 and refers to price levels from 2010. The producer price for agricultural goods rose 5.4% compared to the previous month, hitting around 120. An official from the central bank said prices shot up amid poor harvests due to the record-breaking summer heat wave. The index for livestock and fisheries products also rose 2.5%. Korea's trade trends looks to be moving in a similar direction as those observed on the global stage. This according to Korea International Trade Association's International Trade Institute. Its report says the proportion of Korea's trade and services, consumer goods, and products by SMEs all registered growth last year, consistent with structural shifts seen in world trade. It adds the increasingly digital trade environment is favorable for small and medium-sized companies that excel in ideas and agility. Korea's overall share in global trade stepped up to 3.2% last year. And while the parallel development is mostly positive, researchers say Korea needs to move away from its intermediate goods focus when it comes to exports to China. Export reliance on China, in fact, retreated to 24% from 26% in the first half of this year. Online to offline commerce, or O2O, is all the buzz right now. Propelled by high levels of smartphone use, an increasing number of businesses are using apps, emails, and other digital tools to entice shoppers to buy from their physical stores or purchase real-world services. Our Lee Ju-young has more.
Merging the online and offline world is adding yet another layer of convenience to people's daily lives by allowing users to access information from conventional stores just by carrying their smart devices. This approach, better known as O2O, is exactly what car giant Renault Samsung is doing to boost sales of its new QM6 SUV. It's the first car manufacturer in Korea to sell vehicles online, allowing customers to view sales contracts and make their down payments on the internet. Then, they have the car delivered to the store of their choice.
For customers in their 30s to 40s, we can create a new experience while making things more convenient. We hope it will enhance accessibility since we lack manpower and stores compared to our competitors.
This marketing strategy is evident in the fashion sector as well, with SK Planet, the digital content and marketing arm of SK Group, having launched a smartphone app that allows subscribers to try on designer clothing for a month before making the final purchase.
Because consumers want to experiment with various styles before buying their products, we came up with this in the process of creating a new consumer culture.
With the nation's smartphone penetration rate reaching around 83% as of March last year, more O2O startups have been springing up in recent years, enabling consumers to order food, book car rides, and make beauty salon reservations, among other services. While growing marketing expenses are emerging as one of the biggest threats to building a profitable business, market watchers say the O2O sector has great potential for future growth, as the boundary between the online and offline world in people's daily lives continues to disappear. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
It's the moment of truth for many Korean fashion designers, with the Spring-Summer 2017 Hera Seoul Fashion Week now underway. The event, which runs through Saturday, will give a glimpse of what trends will be front and center next year. Our Kim Min-ji takes us to the scene.
It's just 10 minutes before the show and the action is all backstage. Underneath the glitz and glamour of every fashion week, there's tension in the air and everyone rushes from left to right, but nobody gets busier than the designers themselves, checking every last detail from hemlines and accessories to hair and makeup. It doesn't have the intensity of the runway, but for the designer, this is where the real work happens. These are the moments of both tension and exhilaration, because in a matter of minutes, their sweat and tears will be put to the test.
After about 15 years working for a brand, it's been 6 years since I launched my own. I started at the bottom and worked my way up, learning from many designers and fighting for what I enjoy. This kind of experience keeps me going.
Park Yoon-hee is just one of over 60 designers participating in the Hera Seoul Fashion Week, which opened Tuesday to unveil an array of cutting-edge designs and concepts for next year's spring-summer season.
And this time round, fashion leaders say the bohemian look is the trend to look out for. The bold colors and the exotic prints are ideal to express your individual sense of style.
The event is now in its 16th year, and although it has a relatively short history, it's gradually working its way up in the ranks of major fashion weeks in cities around the world.
Until last season, we would have had to contact foreign VIPs and buyers several times to get them to come. This time, we received a lot of calls from buyers and agencies first, saying they would like to participate.
Going forward, Seoul Fashion Week needs to draw up a new strategy. The event needs to explore means to foster creativity and originality in order to become more globally competitive.
Korea still lacks global brands. Local designers need to establish their own uniqueness, something that makes them stand out, so that they achieve competitiveness.
In this way, experts say global buyers will see Korean designers and products that stand out by their own, thus making Seoul Fashion Week a must-see event every year. Kim Min-ji, Business Daily.
It only had 54 days out on store shelves. Samsung's Galaxy Note 7, after seemingly taking on the market with impressive new features, quickly turned into bad history for the world's #1 smartphone maker. The company's never-ending rivalry with Apple, combined with Chinese manufacturers snapping up cheaper handsets, has produced a neck-and-neck race in an already oversaturated market. Data shows Samsung Electronics has been in the lead, taking up some 20% in market share in the first 2 quarters of the year, with Apple trailing behind at roughly 15 and 11%. But many point to intensifying competition within the market as the main backdrop behind Samsung's latest debacle.
Samsung's latest Note 7 debacle has been in the headlines for many weeks now, and it has raised some concerns about a number of fundamental issues. And we break down some of them with our Shin Se-min, who is in the studio with us today. Hi, Se-min.
Hi, Gio.
All right, so what are some of the factors that have led to this latest debacle for Samsung?
Well, before we get there, let's take a look at the entire release guideline and the timeline for Samsung Electronics as well as its rival Apple. If you do take a look at the timeline here, the Samsung Electronics turns out new devices twice a year, putting out its Galaxy S series in the first half of the year and its Galaxy Note series in the latter half. And in between, they've been also releasing the Galaxy A, C, J series, known as less pricier models, targeting different markets worldwide. It also allows us to see how fast Samsung was able to finesse their skills, outdoing its competitors. In contrast, however, close rival Apple releases its smartphones once in 2 years. So just by looking at the release date alone, we can see how tight the timeline has been for Samsung as well as its rivals.
Yeah, and I think with this comes the question of whether Samsung actually has the capacity to churn out new phones every time with impressive new features. I mean, what do experts say about this?
Well, if the question is, does Samsung have what it takes to put out products with its skills? The answer is no doubt it does. Let's listen to a professor of computer engineering.
If you look at the hardware, Samsung Electronics is in the lead. No other smartphone maker in the world has ever tried to put together features like an iris recognition camera, waterproof ability, combined with better storage and better batteries. But this unprecedented situation is considered the result of not having enough time to thoroughly test the safety aspects.
As you just heard, experts believe the smartphone maker has what it takes to be a leader in innovation. But again, it kind of boils down to time. One of the other things the professor also mentioned in that he thought the company should have taken a bit of a time in the initial stages of the crisis as well. You'll remember that Samsung very quickly responded to customer reports by offering replacement devices instead of taking more time fully assessing the core of the issue. While some say that was a bold and reassuring decision, in the end, replacement devices had a similar issue of its own. So the idea is if Samsung had taken a more time to identify the root issue and cause from the get-go, it might have a better chance at relaunching the phone.
You know, in one sense, I kind of understand why this all happened. I mean, Samsung was trying to respond to its customers as quickly as possible because, I mean, who can live without a phone right now? And those first of those problematic phones, you couldn't carry it on the plane and all that. So they were trying to provide the replacements as quickly as possible. And those had those problems. So it's quite unfortunate, but you could see that Samsung really did try. You know? I mean, I guess we now know a little bit more about what may have contributed to the latest failure. But looking forward, how long do you think it'll take for Samsung to win back consumer confidence? And do you think they need perhaps a change in managing strategy?
Tune, as much as we'd like to know how long it would take for Samsung to fully regain consumer trust, it's quite impossible to gauge how long it'll eventually take. Samsung and smartphone market watchers do say they're sure the company will eventually bounce back, considering the strong fundamentals it has. Now, for one, Elliott Management, an activist hedge fund with shares in Samsung, said it's confident the company remains a leading global player in technology and has a, quote, world-class brand. But looking ahead, some say Samsung could do more to appeal to its consumers.
With reference to at least this particular incident that just happened, at the moment it needs to take a softer approach in the sense that I think we haven't really seen them really apologizing much to consumers or compensating more above and beyond, I mean just beyond the cost of the Galaxy Note 7. So I think that that's something that's lacking at the moment, and I think that to actually address this issue, they actually need to show that softer and compassionate side of them, to show that they are really sorry to consumers that this has happened and to assure them that this will not happen again.
She adds what's also key is using stronger marketing methods while reassuring consumers that this is a one-time incident. Also, that Samsung Electronics might want to shift its focus from concentrating on its technical abilities to provide enough room to improve product durability and, of course, safety as well.
So I guess we'll have to see how Samsung re-emerges from this, probably when it rolls out its next flagship smartphone, and if that would be enough to win those customer confidence back.
Experts say they are sure that it will be able to win back their trust.
All right, well, we'll definitely look forward to that. Thank you so much for coming in today, Samin.
My pleasure.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching. I will be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.